this fucking political party, the Democratic Party, have lied to us about everything. They've lied about being the party of the middle class. They've lied about being the party of peace. They've lied about being the party that wants to help poor people. Okay? What the last several weeks have proven to us all is that this is a cadre of criminals and losers and spoiled children of affluent parents who were more concerned about looking good than actually doing good. These are people who were more concerned about looking like they were doing something for the American people than actually doing things for the American people. And that's why I'm so angry. Because this party lied to me while stealing my tax dollars. The Democratic Party lied to us all while they brought in millions of illegal immigrants for their own political purposes for the last 4 years. 20 to 30 million illegal aliens brought in. And now we come to USAID being probably the largest money laundering operation in American history. Congratulations, Dems. You've outdone even Bernie Madoff. I'm disgusted beyond words. Disgusted with the waste of money. Disgusted with the waste, with the fraud. With the way that you people use color legitimacy and the way you use black people as fucking mules to get us to push whatever fucking agenda you wanted to. The amount of division you used black people to sow upon the American people, you used us for that. And I will never, ever forgive this political party. The shit that I've gone through personally. Y'all were supposed to be the party of free speech, the party of women's rights. You have immolated all of those things. And then, as if enough weren't enough, you then decide that you're going to die on the hill of USAID, a government audit. You're trying to prevent a government audit because some of you really are trying to stay out of prison. We see the game now. Y'all been out here telling us that the game was rigged against certain people. Well, now we found out who the people that were rigging the game were. Congratulations. Y'all are never going to win another political race ever again. Not if I can help it.
Watching the world burn, watching the world burn. February 6th, 2025. Let's get into it. I wanted to start the video with that person who was a Democrat because I don't think people understand how important it is that you challenge a Democrat. Okay? I understand you want to play along to get along. And that's been a mistake made throughout history. A lot of people in Germany wanted to play along to get along. What happened? Hitler. Millions of people died. In Russia, the Bolsheviks. A lot of people wanted to play along to get along. What happened? Stalin. Good Lord, how many people did he kill? You want to play along to get along. Japanese internment camps. Here in the United States, nobody rose up, said anything. Later, we had to pay reparations, but nobody said how wrong that was because they wanted to play along to get along. You can't play along with a Democrat. Not one person has ever left me a comment on any of my videos that said, hey, I had a conversation with the Democrat And guess what? You know, I didn't convince them, but it was a legitimate thing. No, you understand if you challenge a Democrat, you're going to lose that as a friend. Just like I lost all my so-called Democrat friends when I challenged them on masking, and I challenged them on the jab, and I challenged them on the whole, you know, all the propaganda that was going on about the COVID virus. And that's all come out now. I was right about everything. You think any of those Democrats ever apologized to me or ever spoke to me ever again? That was a price I had to pay. I kind of valued some of those friendships in a certain kind of way, but once I realized what kind of people, you know, if you're just going to disown somebody because they disagree with you, and I wasn't beating them up on it. You know, it was just they went nuts, man. My ex-wife, you know, you need to wear a mask in the house. You need to wear a mask in the house. I ain't wearing no damn mask in my house. And it ain't gonna do no damn good. You know, if there's a virus is floating around in the house, a mask is not gonna protect you. And then of course, if you don't get the shot, I'm gonna divorce you. Well, she did. So I guess that was a promise that kept and well made. I'll tell you what, I'm a lot happier. You know, I didn't, at first I was upset about the divorce, but then I look back on it and I think, man, that was one of the greatest things that ever happened. So anyway, so I just wanted to hit on that for just a minute. So let's just talk about Democrats for just a second. Because the first one I want to get into is Trump just signed an executive order that says that men can't play in women's sports. That's the most common sense thing I've ever heard of. You know, and what was it? Was it Lake and Riley? Maybe, I can't remember the name of the girl. Anyway, she was there, the swimmer, and she championed the cause of getting transgender males out of female sports. That's the most common sense thing in the world, and the Democrats are fighting that. Now, I just heard on the radio, I thought this was a good thing, was the NCAA, you know, day after Trump signed that, they said they're no longer going to allow anyone born as identified as male, you know, at birth to play in women's sports. But then I thought this was very reasonable. They're going to allow women to practice with men if they so desire. That is a beautiful thing. I mean, how many of you have taken karate or other things and you got women in the class and you got men in the class? You know, and so really, if you're gonna, I mean, for a woman, especially the top athletes, if you're gonna step up your game, practicing with the men, that's a good idea. And you know, maybe I am, what do I want to say? Kind of a chauvinist or whatever. I got no problem with women playing in men's sports. You know, if they can compete. Like, I think wasn't there a woman that was a field goal kicker? You know, and so, now granted, I don't think she could boot it as far as a man, but if a woman wants to play in professional football as a field goal kicker, what's wrong with that? Right? So I got no problem with women playing in men's sports. Maybe that's chauvinistic, I don't know. If I'm offending somebody, I apologize, but that's just my opinion. So that was the first thing I wanted to get into, so because Democrats are dying on that hill. So then I got another video for you, and I want to talk about USAID. Man, that's all over the place. I can't believe Democrats are trying to defend that. And anyway, let's watch this video first. This isn't everything that's in the USAID. We're going to talk about Elon Musk. So let's just get this out of the way.
USAID has gotten a lot of attention in the last couple of days with some of these bizarre things that we've been, taxpayers have been funding. Now it looks like there are a couple media outlets that have been dragged into this conversation as far as USAID funding as well. Does the president have any comment on that?
So upon coming out here to the briefing room, I was made aware of the funding from USAID to media outlets, including Politico, who I know has a seat in this room. And I can confirm that the more than $8 million taxpayer dollars that have gone to essentially subsidizing subscriptions to Politico on the American taxpayers' dime will no longer be happening. The DOGE team is working on canceling those payments now. Again, this is a whole of government effort to ensure that we are going line by high line when it comes to the federal government's books. And this president and his team are making decisions across the board on, do these receipts serve the interests of the American people? Is this a good use of the American taxpayers' money? If it is not, that funding will no longer be sent abroad, and American taxpayers will see.
This is Leavitt, Trump's new, boy, isn't she hot? I like watching Trump's new press secretary. Maybe that's chauvinistic too. I think she's cute as hell and smart too, man. My God, it's so good. I couldn't stand, what was that lesbian freaking black woman that Biden had for a press secretary? That was like fingernails raking down a chalkboard for me, man. I could never watch her, even though I want to report on the news. Of course, all she did was lie about everything, so there was really nothing to report on except her lies, I guess. All right, so that was the video, and she's talking about, what Elon, and you got to understand, these are a bunch of geeks with laptops, and they're saying on X that for whatever reason, Elon is sleeping in the government building. I guess for some reason, maybe if he leaves the building, he doesn't think he'll be able to get back in, so he's, imagine the sacrifice. That's the richest man in the world, and he's trying to do the right thing for the American people. Let's talk about the USAID, because what they discovered was how crafty the Democrats are. Okay, why don't you challenge a Democrat with this? Why are they for all of this government spending that doesn't make, the crazy stuff that the money was going to? We're going to watch another video on that in a minute. But, ask a Democrat that damn question. But anyway, so what the Democrats are crying about, let's talk about what Elon found first. Okay, they had the money going from one shell company to another shell company to another shell company, and then finally ended up in the Clinton Foundation. And then they had the money from set up to go to one shell company to another shell company to another shell company, and it would end up at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So the Democrats are really good at laundering money. That's all I got to say. And it takes, can you imagine tracking that down? And that Elon's team was able to do that? The other thing that the Democrats are crying about, they're saying that he's violating everybody's privacy. You understand you have no privacy. Anytime the government wants to, they can pull out a FICA warrant. If they can investigate you down to your toenails, if they want to. They don't even have to have a warrant. Okay, and then of course all your information. You remember when Experian got hacked? So all of your credit report, look at a credit report sometime. All that information is on the dark web already. How many banks do you know that have been hacked? The dark web has your social security number. Okay, and the Democrats go, hey, he's violating privacy. He's violating privacy. And by the way, if you also didn't know that Trump, because he knew that this was coming, he made sure that all the people on Elon's team have the proper clearances. So they had to actually be vetted through the process that I did when I was top secret SBI and the NSA. They had to go through the same process of a background check and all of that stuff, which I can tell you right now, a lot of Democrats haven't done. These people crying, Elizabeth Warren, Chuck Schumer, and then, so let's watch a video that I got to just highlight some of the things that they found. We already talked about this in a previous video, but it's just a short, just to remind you, in case you didn't see that video, let's watch that now.
Because you can't really defend this kind of stuff. $45 million for diversity and inclusion scholarships in Burma. $3 million for girl-centered climate action in Brazil. $125 million to racialize public health. $288,000 for diverse birdwatcher groups. USAID, which is in the center of the storm right now, and rightfully so, spent $1.5 billion to, quote, advance diversity, equity, inclusion in Serbia's workplaces and business communities. $70,000 for the production of a DEI musical in Ireland. $2.5 billion for electric vehicles for Vietnam. $47,000 for a transgender opera in Colombia. Not Columbia, Missouri, or Columbia, South Carolina, the country of Colombia. $32,000 for a transgender comic book in Peru. $2 million for sex changes and LGBT activism in Guatemala, $6 million to fund tourism in Egypt. This is what they're mad about.
All right, so that was that video. So now we get into Pam Bondi, and she's been approved, and the first day she went in, the first thing, let's see, I'm trying to remember the one was sanctuary cities. She eliminated funding for sanctuary cities. Sanctuary cities are violating the law. Okay, if Congress wants to change the law, okay, and they can get the votes to change it so that, sanctuary cities are legal, then okay, fine. And then Pam Bondi would have to follow the law. That's not the law of the land. Okay? So anyway, that was one great thing that she did. And I can't remember the other one. Daggone it. Anyway, so we're gonna hit on a lot of topics in this video. I'll get some more clips here. I got to go through the phone. We're gonna do a sit down when I get to the end of this trail, and we'll talk about things there. But anyway, I just wanted to kind of highlight some of the things that the Democrats are fighting for. They're fighting to launder your money. They're fighting for all of these crazy transvestite programs, funding the Afghan Taliban. Money was going to the Taliban. I mean, my God, it's just insane. And Democrats are for this. They're fighting Trump on the border. You do, and let's talk about that for just a minute. I got two more topics. Maybe Pam Bondi will pop back in my brain. But when we get to the border, I can't believe you do understand that when Trump and Holman do shut that border down, McGregor, I've listened to McGregor, and he's saying it actually right, that we should have more troops on the border. You realize those cartels, they're going to get pissed off. You're cutting off their child trafficking, their human trafficking, and their fentanyl business into the United States, which Democrats are for, by the way. Understand, Democrats are for killing 100,000, 200,000 Americans. Ask a Democrat about that sometime. They're all for the open border. They're all for child trafficking. They're all for human trafficking. Anyway, the point was that once you shut down that revenue stream, you're going to have a war on your hands. Those cartels, they're heavily armed, man. They got javelins, they got everything else. I mean, we're looking at, there's going to be some dead Americans, and there's going to be some dead cartel members, and I mean, I think things are going to get really violent. That was the first thing that I wanted to point out. The second thing, and I'm going to put it here, if you look right now, okay, I'm just going to talk about this for a minute or two, because I've got Trump's statement, which is the stupidest statement I've ever heard of. I mean, I guess Kushner got to Trump, or the Israeli lobby, when Netanyahu was here and Trump says, we're going to go in and take over Gaza. You do understand that is ethnic cleansing, all right? If you move 1 million people off of their land that don't want to go, I mean, that's ethnic cleansing, and the only way you're going to do that is by force. But then they walked it back. Trump's administration said, no, we're not sending troops into Gaza. So for him to even propose this stupidity of the United States going into Gaza and development, and by the way, think of the callousness. As much as I love Trump and everything that he's doing, the callousness of that statement is unbelievable. I mean, it's like he's turned a blind eye to all of the Palestinians that have been killed. And this video this is going to kill me. If I can find it, here's a video of a woman talking about what took place in Gaza before the ceasefire.
Absolutely. I mean, there are dire conditions on the ground there. This has been said already in the news. Children are targeted. I have seen at least 18 cases of children that were shot by a bullet, that had bullets in their head or in their chest or in their abdomen. In August, I have 18 documented cases. When I was there again, saw the same thing. This is not on accident. These are sniper shots in a child. If a child showed up in my emergency department today in the US, there would be law enforcement crawling all over that hospital to figure out why and who did that to a child. So children are disproportionately affected by this. The conditions living there are dire. I walked into the camps to see what the living conditions were like inside of the tents. Water contamination is terrible. There is no way to filter the water. People are consuming this water, specifically children, and getting extremely sick with kidney failure and end organ failure. All civilians right now are being affected. When I was in the hospital twice on these missions, I lived inside of the hospital. We were there for 4 weeks at a time. Never in my time there did I witness a combatant or a militant inside of the hospital. It just never happened. Ask any of my colleagues, and I can guarantee you no one ever did, because they aren't there. Instead, we treated civilians. Over 70% of the cases that I saw were women and children. Women and children are disproportionately affected by this. Medical evacuations are completely blocked.
All right, hopefully I found that video. So that got me a strike right there. I mean, oh man. But you know, and so you're saying, okay, well, yeah, Trump's got a good point that there's bombs in there, and you know that's all rubble and everything. Why is it rubble? Why is it rubble? Because the Israelis blew everything up. They killed, good Lord, who knows how many people. We'll start getting the numbers now that the Palestinians, and by the way, did you see the Palestinians returning to northern Gaza? They were happy. They're going home to rubble. They got no place to live. And the only way that would work, you know, if you want to build hotels on the shoreline and try to turn a profit for the Palestinians, the only way that would work would be put up tent cities, because the Palestinians don't want to leave their land. You know, you're going to have to feed them and house them and clothe them and everything else. And then, of course, if you want to do it right, you would hire the Palestinians to rebuild, you know, to build those hotels or build the housing and everything. That'd be a way that you could make it work. But the problem is, how are you going to get other nations on board? And Trump was talking about Egypt and Jordan that's going to go along with taking the Palestinians. They're not going to take the Palestinians, man. There's no way in hell. And man, I'm going to tell you what, foreign leaders all over the world came at Trump big time. I mean, they came at him. I mean, that statement was the dumbest statement I've ever heard from a president. And then, of course, immediately the Democrats, there's another article of impeachment. I mean, we couldn't impeach Biden for some strange reason. I don't know. The Republicans didn't want to do it. But they're going to impeach Trump again. You know, oh boy, here we go again. Although supposedly with the Republicans, they might not have the votes. Oh, and just you know, while I'm talking about politicians, man, have you seen all the news about Mitch McConnell? He fell down again, and I think he fell twice. I mean, what is wrong with these politicians that they want to stay in office until they die? I mean, why not go home and be with your family, or take the wife on a, you know, retire and take the wife and you guys go on, because he's got, you know, millions upon millions that he's grifted off of the American people. You know, go see some places. Go to the Bahamas, you know, hang out, drink some pina coladas, you know. What is it that I guess the power just goes to their head that they want? I mean, we got a bunch of geriatrics in charge of the country. I mean, it's unbelievable. The other thing to ask a Democrat is, why do they hate their children? Why does a Democrat hate their children? Because you understand that all this grifting that was taking place, by the way, USAID is only 1% of the budget. If Elon gets into the defense budget or the Pentagon, I mean, you're gonna see things that you never even imagined. It's going to be unbelievable, you know, what they're going to find. I mean, I'm going to tell you right now. So we'll see when and if he gets there. But so we've only just scratched the surface of the corruption out of Washington, D.C. But you know, the thing that I would ask a Democrat is, why don't you care how your money is being spent? And by the way, we're going to hit a financial crisis. They can't cut enough to cover the $37 trillion in debt that we have. So eventually, especially when the BRICS continues to de-dollarize and all them dollars come flowing back, you're going to see a Great Depression. And of course, Trump will probably they're going to blame Trump even though he's cutting everything. But why would a Democrat be for cutting the budget to save their kids from bankruptcy? Because you know that, I mean, it's going to be tough living, man. we're going to have to learn how to raise chickens all over again. We're going to have to learn how to plant corn and vegetables. Have a garden. I've put that out here. Grow a garden, grow a garden. I mean, gold right now is hitting all-time highs. Silver, the last I looked, it was bouncing between $32 and $33. So that's up from, like I told you, if it crosses 33, that's a threshold. We could be off to the races as far as silver goes. So anyway, and last time I ran the calculation, it was 81 to 1. So it would take 81 silver dollars to buy 1 ounce of gold right now, and that's a ratio that. So you don't be buying gold. I'd buy silver and wait till it comes down to something more like a 40 to 1, or historically 15 to 1. I talked about that in previous videos. But anyway, so that's we're gonna wait. We're gonna be sitting down here soon, and I'm gonna go through the videos and stuff that I didn't talk about just sitting here hiking, and I'm sure I'll figure out what the other thing that Pam Bondi did. All right, so let's wait till we get to the bench. I remember what it was. So I'll get this in before we get to the sit down. It was the Epstein list. Pam Bondi said she's going to release that list. Now, I imagine it's going to be redacted in some fashion. But Democrats are fighting like hell not to see that Epstein list. Now, why do you think that is? I know why. You know why. Democrats are pedophiles, man. That's who they are. So anyway, yeah. I mean, but the thing is, I do want to defend, like Bill Clinton, for example, because I know his name's on the list. At least that's what I've been, the scuttlebutt is. Let's just put it that way. I won't know until we actually see the list. But anyway, so, that's guilt by association, right? And but the thing is, once the list is released, we may have some victims come forward, and that'll give them, the list will give them credibility. So maybe, that would be one way that we could get some of these people prosecuted. Otherwise, to me, the list is meaningless. So what if he was on the plane with Epstein? I mean, we got no proof that there were young women on the plane. Or if, like Bill Gates, maybe he visited Epstein Island, okay, why would he go there? It could have been a business deal. You don't know. You don't know if there was young women there. For sure, so until somebody comes forward, and we can get some witnesses out there, and even then, witnesses can lie. So, I mean, it's kind of a big deal for the list to be released, but I don't know. I don't think it's going to do anything, and I don't know. I mean, obviously, the Democrats have got some guilt there. Otherwise, they wouldn't want to block the release of that list. But by blocking it, they really, really show the world who they are, And so anyway, we'll be getting to the sit down here in just a minute. Well, unfortunately, the bench was occupied, so I had to get back here in the woods. So we'll just make the video here. And we talked about the Epstein list, but it was cute that Elon Musk says, inquiring minds want to know why Senator Dick Durbin, has blocked release of the Epstein client list for years. What could possibly be the reason? I thought that was cute. This is a hell of a video. We'll watch this. I suppose this is real. And this is a video of Iran's first drone carrier. Let's take a look at that. All right, so that was interesting. Let's Let's see. This is Nancy Winters. The secretary of the USAID grant database is by design. The secrecy, excuse me. Look up the addresses of entities receiving millions of dollars on Google Maps, and you'll find shacks of empty land. It's pure money laundering. Let's watch that video.
The problem is systemic in the sense that all the American people get to understand about the billions, if not trillions of taxpayer dollars that we are hemorrhaging to these foreign countries or to these US-based NGOs is like the start date, the end date, and maybe 50-word summary, and who it's going to. And the summary is typically something along the lines of countering disinformation. And the group that it's going to, sometimes it's an undisclosed foreign recipient or undisclosed domestic recipient, and there's nothing we can do to understand who that money's going to. But more precisely, and this was reporting that Raheem Kassam and I had sit over at the National Pulse years ago, we had looked up on Google Maps dozens of the addresses of the so-called, fact-checking grant recipients or the misinformation grant recipients. They're shacks on the side of the road. They're non-existent entities. It is clean and simple, pure and simple money laundering.
So we talked about that already. By the way, this is getting back to USAID. Don't you love Kennedy, John Kennedy, the senator? Anyway, this is him. I'll just read it for you. The USAID are screaming like they're part of a prison riot because they don't want us reviewing the spending. But that's all Elon Musk is doing, and he's finding some pretty interesting stuff. Just what the president said he was going to appoint Musk to do. Let's watch that video.
Now, President Trump ran for office saying, I'm going to review every single penny in the federal budget. Now, how are you going to review the spending in the federal budget without reviewing the spending? And that's what Mr. Musk is doing. Now, many of my Democratic colleagues and some of the tofu-eating wokarati at the USAID are screaming like they're part of a prison riot because they don't want us reviewing the spending. But that's all Mr. Musk is doing, and he's finding some pretty interesting stuff. To my friends who are upset, I would say with respect, call somebody who cares. They better get used to this. It's USAID today. It's going to be Department of Education tomorrow. And really, here's what's going on. For 4 years under President Biden, the people in charge ask one simple question. Who needs to pay more in taxes? Who needs to pay more in taxes? Well, that's not the question that the Republicans and President Trump are going to ask. Our question is, what the hell happened to the money? And that's all that's going on.
$520 million for consultant-driven ESG investments in Africa, $45 million to DEI scholarships in Burma. Why are your Democratic colleagues seemingly more freaked out about cutting U.S. aid? This is our money. Do you know how much $1 million is? 520? I mean, we're spending hundreds of millions of dollars over the years on this madness. What are they thinking? We have $40 trillion in debt.
If you notice, my Democratic colleagues and the USAID officials, they're not defending the spending. All they're talking about is process. Oh, it's an insurrection, and Elon Musk doesn't have the authority. Well, sure he has the authority. The president gave it to him. And all he's doing is looking at the spending, just what the president said he was going to appoint Musk to do. Here's what I hope Rubio and Musk do. I would put together all this absurd spending into a booklet. I'd call a press conference, and in front of God and country and the corporate media and the USAID folks and my Democratic colleagues, I'd go over it, item by item by item, every bit of it. The DEI comic books, the transgender operas, the funding of gain-of-function research. I'd go over every bit of it and say, now, do you want to defend this? And they won't. They can't.
All right. And then, of course, this is a good post. I mean, this was Nancy Pelosi. Like I said, the Democrats are squealing like stuck pigs, man. Donald Trump gave Elon Musk full access to your secretive personal information and data at the Treasury Department. Your secretive personal information. My God. We already talked about that. Everything's on the dark web. Everything has been released. Everything's been hacked. And by the way, what do you think the Treasury Department has on you that's personal information that you wouldn't want to know? Oh, maybe some transactions? Oh, guess what? NSA has all of that information, and any government spook, CIA, FBI, they can look up all that information anytime they want. Last night, I hosted a telephone town hall with Representative Richard Neal to directly address the illegal seizure and detail of how Democrats are responding. Oh my God, this is crazy. Let's see. She really did work tirelessly, and she stood up when it mattered most. This is Cat Turk. Congratulations to my friend Riley Gaines. Daggone it, that was the woman that I was telling you, who worked tirelessly for this day to get men out of women's sports. Proud of her. And this is a picture of her. I'll be showing it to you in the thing there. And this was community notes. Then we get to Elizabeth Warren. Check my website. I don't take contributions from big pharma executives. I don't take any corporate PAC money. We've already got the receipts. Elizabeth Warren was one of the biggest PAC or big pharma people.
Big pharma since 2020. The reason why you don't want RKG, you're suing big pharma. Is that why?
No, check the website. I don't take contributions from big pharma executives. I don't take any corporate PAC money. And you and your allies already know that.
I love these Democrats are screaming, man. And all the corruption is being uncovered. You know, a Democrat, ask them these questions. Why are you for big pharma funding all of your Democrat cronies, man, especially these geriatrics that they have up there, Mitch McConnell being the worst one. Oh, this is the video of McConnell falling down, and Cat Turd says, retire already. Remember, we talked about that. Let's watch that. Yeah, that's the video right there. What the hell is wrong with these people? And this is room for improvement. Elon not only doubled Twitter's EBITDA, he grew margins from 13 to 46%. This is one of the craziest thing. Let's see. Let's read this. X also reported to the investors in 2024 adjusted earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization of about $1.25 billion and an annual revenue of $2.7 billion. Investors said that was a better picture than they had expected, and that X finances hit an inflection point of a few months before the November election. In 2021, Twitter reported adjusted EBITDA of about $682 million and about $5 billion in revenue. That was the last full year before Musk took the company private. Now, another question for a Democrat. Why are they against free speech? I mean, it seems to make a good profit. You know, once Elon said, okay, everybody can have a voice on X, and we're not going to censor it. We're not going to listen to the Biden administration and censor everybody. Man, X is taking off. I mean, I get basically all my news from X. Well, not really. I mean, I watch a lot of YouTube and stuff on Rumble. And then this is Mike Schellenberger, and we'll be wrapping up here in just a minute. So the House of Representatives impeached Donald Trump on December 18th, 2019, after a White House whistleblower went public with evidence that Trump abused the powers by withholding military aid to Ukraine in order to dig up dirt on his rival, Joe Biden. In the complaint, the whistleblower claimed to have heard the White House staff that Trump had on a phone call with President Vladimir Zelensky to work with his personal attorney. Now, you know the whole story, so I'm not going to play. I'll watch the video. If the video is any good, I'll put it on the video right here. But so this is the crazy stuff. I mean, these are things. I mean, think about it. Trump was impeached twice over stupid stuff like this. It's unbelievable. Oh, this is a good one. This is Elon Musk, and this is a guy talking about making fun of all the stuff that Elon is finding. You know, we got to have some humor in these videos, right? Let's watch this. This is great. I thought this was cracking me up.
Hi, welcome to the Department of Government Efficiency. We were looking over last year's budget and we found some anomalies that we wanted to address. Okay, if you're talking about the military budget, if you want a safe country, that's how much we... Oh, we didn't even start looking at that yet. Get ready for that. No, we were looking at this list here. We wanted to start with the National Pillow Fluffing Initiative. I mean, don't you want your pillow to be fluffy? Not when you're spending over $1 million of taxpayer money. We're cutting that. Also, the Bureau of Elevator Music Standards. Explain yourself. Forgive me if you're trying to set the vibe, bro. $800,000 a year. The National Velcro Noise Study. What's the problem here? You don't have to spend $1 million a year to know that Velcro noise is annoying. Now, the Program of Ice Cube Uniformity and the American Cloud Watching Fund. Okay, that one's a problem, but I'm kind of OCD and I like it when my ice cubes are all the same size and shape, you know? Yeah, we all do, but that doesn't mean you spend $1 million. Now, the Federal Kazoo Orchestra Grant? It's amazing what they could do with those things, honestly. The Federal Bureau of Traffic Cone Counting? $256,343. You're welcome. Now, that's what I call $800,000 well spent.
Wasn't it funny as hell? That was wonderful. Let's see. This is more on USAID. It says, according to the Colombia Journalism Review, USAID supported 6,200 journalists, 707 news outlets, and 279 media sector civil society organizations in 30 different countries. No wonder the news all sounds the same. That was a good one. And then this is George Galloway. We'll finish up right here. Seems the state corruption has been running life in America. Most of it their own affair. But the systemic rigging of the media market is a matter for all of us. The Biden era diktat of social media, illegal subsidies, Politico, Disney. You know, if you didn't know, Politico was getting, they were buying these premium memberships. And so Politico, by the way, that's been cut. The other one was the World Health Organization. Now, you don't know that Trump got us out of that, but they're saying that they're going to bankrupt. Because other nations like Argentina, a couple other nations, they're getting out of the World Health Organization. I mean, think about it. The World Health Organization was wrong about everything. So why in the hell were we giving them millions upon millions of dollars? I mean, and for just grifting, that's all it is. It was just a big grift, man. But let's finish reading up what he had to say here. And U.S. funding of the BBC. Mass secret payments to foreign media and so-called NGOs reveal an octopus of malignant interference in democracy and civil society all over the world. Elon Musk and company are rendering a service to humanity and exposing it. And that's why Democrats, they can't stand it, man. This was, you know what, we'll do one more video here. USAID dollars have gone into the pockets of fat cats around the globe. Last video. Let's watch that.
I have witnessed firsthand the obstruction within USAID as we try to exercise our congressional oversight of some of these programs. We know that there are dollars that are wasted, that have gone into the pockets of fat cats around the globe without the humanitarian aid being delivered. And yes, there are programs in USAID that are worthy of keeping. However, we have seen such complacency with oversight and direction from USAID. Sometimes it takes a sledgehammer, and that's exactly what Elon Musk is doing. He is going in, he is dismantling it. It will be scrutinized, but I can guarantee you, if there are worthy projects that really benefit Americans and our objectives, that those programs will be rebuilt, but they will have proper oversight within the State Department and in Congress.
Look at all the fraud that he's found in this USAID. It's a disaster what the people, radical left lunatics, they have things that nobody would have even believed. The whole thing with $100 million spent on you know what, with money going to all sorts of groups that shouldn't deserve to get any money, with the money. I'd like to see what the kickbacks are. How much money has been kicked back? Who would spend that kind of money to some of the things that you read about and I read about and I see every night on the news and every morning when I read the papers? Who would spend money for that? I would say this, the people that got all that money, are they kicking it back to the people that gave it from government? No, that's, to me, very, very corrupt.
All right, that's it for today. Peace out. Stay free and talk to a damn Democrat about just one thing, and then let me know how that conversation went. I'm just curious. I'm just curious. I know that you don't want to lose your Democrat friends. They're not your friends. Understand, they could be funding the next Hitler. They could be putting Japanese in internment camps. There's all kinds of instances when you're not going to confront people on their hypocrisy and their stupidity. You're setting the nation up to fail. And your kids. Think about your kids. That's it. All right, I had three other things. Get a little scenery clip here. Three other things I forgot to talk about. One is I've been seeing on YouTube, this is for me personally, maybe somebody will know something about this. It's Advent Brain and Spine, and for neuropathy, which I have severely since I broke my neck. I was thinking about looking into that. If anybody knows them or somebody else that can work on severe cases like mine, give me some feedback. I mean, relief factor too. That's one thing that I hear on the radio constantly getting advertised, which tells me that they spend a lot on their advertising budget, which, if the product speaks for itself, I don't think you need to advertise as much as they do. But anyway, I'd be willing to try it if somebody out there swears by it besides a talking head on the radio like Sean Hannity or whoever. I wanted to get into you remember the plane accident over the Potomac? And I wish I could take credit for this, but it was somebody that made this suggestion, and it's a good one. And very, very, one of the things we underutilize in our country is veterans, okay? And a lot of veterans, they've been air traffic controllers for many years that, have just retired. And you can reactivate them. By the way, it's kind of be like being in the reserve or the ready reserve. They can be called right back up to active duty. And we could put them, to work in these towers to supplement and this temporary solution. I'm not saying that they want to serve forever as an air traffic controller, but until we can get some non-DEI, merit-based air traffic controllers, back in the seats, then these guys can supplement that and keep the airways safe across the country. I thought that was just a hell of an idea. So maybe if you agree, maybe send your senator or Trump, an email and say, look, why don't we start using veterans as air traffic controllers? Just saying. And of course, I've already recommended putting veterans as security in schools. Of course, they'd have to make sure that, they're mentally all there, because there are veterans that do have some problems, PTSD and whatnot. Although I don't think that disqualifies them for providing security in a school, but that's, and veterans would work cheap. Hell, some of them might just work free. I mean, go one day a week just to provide security for a school, why not? Anyway, so that was the next ad, and I forgot to talk about Ukraine for just a minute. And the Bloomberg put out a report of the Kellogg. He's going to be meeting, I think it might be in Brussels or wherever. I can't remember what the conference is going to be. And they were piecing together his proposal to the Russians. And it's like Trump with Gaza. It's a stupid proposal. It's not going to go anywhere. The Russians are just going to walk right out, and they're not going to listen to it. But I'll just piece. This is what Bloomberg says. I don't know if this is true, or maybe they'll adjust it when Trump learns what's really going on in Ukraine. But the first one was a ceasefire. The Russians are not going to agree to a ceasefire. Okay, they've already come out. Lavrov and Putin said they are not going to do that because then NATO will just rearm Ukraine, rebuild their battalions and everything, and they're going to be fighting another war with Ukraine in 5 years. So boom, ceasefire's out. There you go. And that's one thing that he was going to go for. The next thing was peacekeepers. Russia is not going to tolerate NATO troops in Ukraine. That's a non-starter. But if he proposes it, Russia's just going to walk out and say, no way, no how. And then, of course, NATO in like 10 years or something, we'll reevaluate whether we want Ukraine and NATO. Well, number one, I don't think NATO is going to exist much longer anyway. But that's going to be a non-starter. Russia, the whole reason they fought the war was to keep NATO out of their backyard. So that's a non-starter. Boom, out the door. So you can see where Trump is getting some really bad information. I mean, that whole Gaza thing, and of course, this proposal for Ukraine, that's not going to go nowhere. You know, Russia's already stated, you know, who was it that said, all you got to do is listen to the Russians? You know, one of the things the Russians don't do a whole lot is lie. You know, go, oh yeah, no, that cybersecurity guy, they lie. No, man. They tell you exactly, you know, where they stand on a lot of things. If you just listen to what they have to say, then you know your starting point. Okay? Now, I mean, if Kelly is just going to kind of broach those things and get a feel for, I just think he's going to piss them off. And, you know, but anyway, he could always do that and say, oh, well, you know, that's what I thought you'd say. Let's talk about this other thing. So anyway, the only thing that Trump needs to do, and this is what he promised the American people, he needs to pull out of the Middle East. But that's Israel's war. It's not our war. Okay? Israel is not our ally. I keep telling people that. They will not come to the defense of the United States if we are ever attacked. There is no mutual defense treaty with Israel. So just pull out and say, you know, Israel, you're on your own. You do what you want. You do you, we'll do us. Same with Ukraine. Just pull the money, quit sending them weapons, and say, okay, we're done. Ukraine, you work it out with Russia. And then if you want us at the table in peace talks, we'll sit down and we'll do it. But that was Biden's war. That's not my war. I'm Donald Trump. You know, this was the Democrat war. It's not a Republican war. We're done with Ukraine. We're focused on the United States, America first. And that's what Trump needs to do. So I just wanted to talk about those things real quick on the video.
We do have these known terrorists and cartel members and gang members in the country. We do know they're here. We don't know where they are. We don't know where a lot of them are. It was good to see that your guys were able to get the Tren de Aragua, 50 of those guys this past weekend, I believe, in Colorado. However, I've got to imagine with people from over 200 countries, those known terrorists, is it safe to assume they're plotting, they're planning and scheming an attack on our homeland?
Absolutely. You know, we already caught 8 from Tajikistan planning a terrorist attack. Luckily, the intelligence community caught them on a chatter. But the intelligence community is not perfect. They missed Afghanistan. They missed 9/11. They're not perfect. So I agree with Christopher Wray, even though I have no respect in Christopher Wray. Me and him agree on one thing. What they've done on the southern border is the biggest national security vulnerabilities this nation ever seen. We see more red flags than ever before. Something's coming. And I hope President Trump's in the Oval Office when something does come, because he'll take control of it.
I've been saying it's a matter of when, not if, and I pray to God that I'm wrong. What do you know about the Border Patrol agents exchanging gunfire with Mexico drug cartels from earlier?
They've taken gunfire, and it's going to get worse, Sean, because President Trump's going to seal that border. He's going to put the cartels out of business. He declared them a terrorist organization. We got the whole of government is going to dismantle these people and wipe them off the face of the earth. They're not going to go. They're not going to go lightly. We're taking them out of the trafficking business. We're taking them out of the smuggling business. We're taking them out of the dope business. There's going to be more violence on the southwest border. That's why Trump committed to calling the terrorist organization. He has. That's why the entire United States government is going to take care of those people and abolish them. We're going to attack them not just in Mexico, but in the 42 countries that Jalisco cartel is currently residing in. The Trump administration is going to take them on just like he did the caliphate, and we're going to destroy them.